Hey Nature Detectives, I'm Conrad. I'm an outdoor educator at Letchworth State Park, and today I have a nature mystery for you. I found a beautiful golden tree, and I think we can use our nature tools and some nature clues to figure out what kind of tree this is and how it helps us every single day. We'll use our eyes and our fingers and maybe even our noses just a little bit. First off, let's just use our eyes. Even from a distance, we can look at this tree and see how beautiful golden bronze it is. It's almost metallic. It has this beautiful kind of sheen to it, a shine when the sun shines on it just right. It really looks like it has a kind of a shimmery golden metallic look to it. And secondly, we can use our fingers and just rub our fingers across this bark here. It is pretty smooth down here, but the higher I go, the more curls I find. And way up on the branches there, you'll see a whole bunch of curly, peely bark. Be careful not to actually peel any of it off. We don't want to hurt this tree. And the further down I go with my hand, the smoother it gets. Now this is a pretty big individual, this kind of tree. Some of them, as they're growing when they're young, they're not very big at all. They're only about as big around as my wrist. And those ones will have peely bark all up and down, even at the bottom. So we got some peely bark, and the higher we go, the peelier it gets. The third nature clue, this is where we break out our noses, our last nature tool. Let's just scratch up the tip of this twig right here from this tree, and we'll give it a smell. We don't have to break it off or smash it up. We just need to rough it up just a little bit, just with our thumbnail there. Let's give that a smell. I hear mixed reviews about this all the time. Some people think this smells kind of minty, but I say it smells exactly like root beer. Root beer specifically, not any other kind of soda. I think this smells so much like root beer. I can't believe anybody else comes away with any other impression from how this smells. But with power of suggestion, I can see how some people think this smells kind of minty, kind of like wintergreen, like it's an evergreen broadleaf plant that lives down on the forest floor, sometimes even under the snow, stays green all year long and has a special oil. It smells kind of minty. But this isn't wintergreen. This is a great big tree after all. So let's put those nature clues together. We have some smelly twigs that smell kind of like mint, but also like root beer. It has peely bark that's peelier the higher you go on the branches and smoother down below. And that bark has a really goldeny, beautiful metallic look to it, metallic light color. This must be a yellow birch tree. Now, yellow birches are really useful to human beings for many different reasons, both living and dead or harvested. First and foremost, they're an important lumber tree. They can be used for all different kinds of projects in our homes and buildings, like floors and cabinets and furniture and all kinds of different kinds of stuff. But they're also really useful as living trees for syrup, not maple syrup, birch syrup. It does not taste similar. Don't get birch syrup expecting to have that sweet mapley taste. It's very different, very distinct. I like to use it in baking and cooking. Now that same yellow birch sap that can make birch syrup can also be used to make birch beer. Now this isn't beer that has alcohol in it. This is more like root beer, like a kind of a soda. Very flavorful, strong flavored soda. But yellow birches aren't only useful to human beings as products, they also do a lot of important jobs in nature, on lands that we manage. Yellow birches are food for some kinds of caterpillars that live in the woods and become these beautiful, dark, mysterious butterflies like the mourning cloak and some others. And of course there are the usual roles that many trees play in forests. They give us oxygen, they provide shade, they provide homes for many small animals like bats and raccoons and possums and squirrels and chipmunks and owls and all different kinds of woodland creatures. These yellow birches like to grow in close association with hemlock trees, really dense, shade-tolerant evergreen tree with teeny tiny little needles. They really like the same habitat types as those hemlocks. In Letchworth State Park, that means steep, shale-dominated ravines and shaded woods. It turns out that in Letchworth State Park, we have all kinds of shale-dominated ravines and cliffs for these hemlocks and the yellow birches to enjoy. Look especially closely for a yellow birch growing on an old hemlock log or out of a hemlock stump. the yellow birch seeds can't sprout very well in the soil. They fall down on a little helicopter-like seed, just like a maple. And if they're lucky enough to land on some other kind of tree's stump or log, they'll sometimes reach into that little log with a little rootlet and start to grow straight out of that other log. There are all kinds of different terms that nature people use to refer to that phenomenon. And my favorite is to refer to that downed log that has yellow birches growing out of it as a nurse log, because it's like the little yellow birches are like little piglets suckling from their mom, and that log is like nursing those baby trees. And eventually they might grow up and that log will rot away, so it'll look like the yellow birch is growing on stilts, because those roots no longer have the stump or the log around it. They just look like octopus tentacles sticking right into the ground. If you were to try to find a yellow birch tree in Letchworth State Park, you could, hypothetically, try to search somewhere in the area of the green trail around the Humphrey Nature Center if you're looking for a quick walk, or if you're up for a bigger adventure, head out to Trail 2 or Trail 2A with some deeper old growth forest. And if you're looking for a fun little mini waterfall hike, you could try maybe some of the ravines in the area of the intersection of Waterline Creek and the Silver Lake Outlet, where there's a teeny little waterfall there. There might be some yellow birches and hemlocks mixed in there. If you really want to put your nature detective skills to the test, try to find a yellow birch in your neighborhood. Now, you don't need to go to old growth forest or steep shale-dominated ravines to find them. In fact, some places have used yellow birches as landscaping trees in parks or in lawns. Be careful though, because the river birch is much more popular, but it will have light kind of gray or white bark, just like its wild cousins, the white birch and the gray birch. And of course, the yellow birch has its yellowy, goldeny bark that really sets it apart from the other kinds of birches. Well, thank you so much for joining me for today's Nature Mystery. If you have any questions about yellow birch or any other kind of birch that grows in New York, please put a comment in the comment section below the video. Share this video with your friends to put their nature detective skills to the test. And as always, follow us on Instagram and like our Facebook page to stay tuned for more nature mysteries.